Okay, here are the 10 points I believe that will show us why technique has been so misunderstood and you could be making these same mistakes. Number one is only teaching a portion of the concept. For example, the unit turn, right? In this video, I'll go through what about the unit turn is important and what has to remain even though we have different styles. With teaching a concept, we have to show evidence of why it's working. Point number two, not paying attention to how everything connects together. Changing one thing could create a problem in another thing, right? So changing one thing here could add another problem in another part. And what I mean by that is, I'll use the example of a airplane wing. The cross section, the shape of the wing is built in a particular way. There's a very simple specific reason. The goal of the plane is to be able to lift off the ground after reaching a certain speed. So the shape of the wing determines how the air is going to flow over and under the wing or around the wing to create the desired effect. Now, if you change that shape, the airplane will behave in a different manner. For example, when you're sitting by the window and you see the plane coming to land and you see how the wing changes its shape, right? It's a good little great piece of engineering. As it changes shape, it creates drag and it allows the plane to slow down. And just as we do in tennis, we need to understand that if I change the shape of my wing or if I change the shape of my shot, I'm going to get a particular result. So when I talk about comprehensive technique, I'm going to use the word maximize and it'll make sense when I get to that point. Number three, prioritizing winning over improvement or growth. Short-term win goals may not guarantee that you are building or creating the game you're going to need in future. Build your game wisely. Number four applies to both coach and player. We've all been there. Afraid to admit that I don't know. It may seem as if you would be vulnerable with this admission, but on the other hand, it actually is what's going to allow you to learn more about the concept. And it's okay not to know the answer right there and there. We don't need to always know the answer. We are always improving as coaches. And instead of guessing, what we need to do is do our research, and therefore it'll help you, the player, and the coach realize that, okay, I didn't know about this, and now that I do, I've seen improvement. And this will bring us to our next point, which is the number five, the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is when somebody thinks they know a certain amount about a topic, but later to realize I didn't know as much as I thought. And it takes a very hard look to know that I have to start all the way from the bottom. This happened to me. I was humbled greatly by the sport of tennis teaching, even though I was ranked 600 in the world when I started my coaching. But I quickly realized tennis has many layers and it goes quite deep into what's going on. So when I first started coaching, I received a ton of students and I got a lot of lessons. And I quickly realized that as much as they thought I knew, I didn't give them the answers they needed. So I started from scratch and said, I want to learn about this game of tennis. It took me a while, but it taught me a lot. Okay, point number 6. This is my favorite one to talk about, and I think I can make 20 videos on this topic itself. The myth that technique takes a long time to fix. Definitely not true. With the right information and good coaching, information can be transferred in a very fast manner. For advanced players, even in a matter of days or weeks. Advanced players have done so much work already that for them it's just a shift in their process. So, if you are one of those players who is having a problem with a shot, it will be fine to decide, I'm going to spend a month fixing said shot, because that shot is going to change everything for you. Sometimes you might that's the thing that's holding you back, and you realize we're making a big leap just from a small change. At the higher level, small percentage of changes can lead to significant result changes. Here, I like to make the analogy of the team leader or project manager, right? You're a project manager and you have a team of 5 individuals that have to help you achieve a certain project. Think of your body as those 5 team members. why we can have things change quickly is because your body is very intuitive and your body knows what to do in most circumstances. The body's intuition should be used to our advantage. If you train the body to improve its natural movements, it's going to back you up in reflex areas. This is where we often hear somebody say, oh, that person has great hands, or reflexes is great. That reaction is a built-in reaction. So therefore, you as the player have to just give your body small instructions or less instructions, and then let it back you up naturally. Now, if you train it with unnatural movements, for example, if it wants to do a certain movement and you teach it something else, it may not remember that in a high pressure situation. Now, you can switch your whole body, but that means you have to micromanage and change something that's already working for you or something that is very good. So when you have a great team and you give your instructions and the team does what they need to do, work environment becomes calmer, your mind is calm, you make great decisions as a team leader, you can help people, you can relax more. Once we go through comprehensive technique, those prompts or steps you will see will make a lot of sense. So that way you can easily manage your team without any stress. Okay, number 7, saying these words, well, this is what works for me, right? You can already imagine why there's a problem with that, because I'll give you the simplest example of me being 5'10", and then if my coach is 6'6" and used to serve in an amazing way, right? And they say, well, this works for me on my serve. I toss the ball here. What we have to understand is that for a 5'10" person and a 6'6" person, the toss is going to be different. And I'll explain later. So we've had this same way, same instruction for serves for years. It's been like, okay, toss it here and hit it. And as we get into comprehensive technique, I'll show you the example why we need to toss the ball in different places. Another example is if I can hit with a lot of power because I'm 6'4" and my student is 5'9", I'm not going to get the same result. Number 8, okay? Everyone's different. We've heard about that concept, but we haven't really dug into it a little bit more. Yes, we are all different, but certain things are the same. For example, the lines, the height of the net, the balls in the case of you against your opponent, and so on. So because we are different, doesn't mean we have to approach it the way we want. This is the one sport that has allowed people to do whatever they want. For example, if I don't like to come to the net, I'm just not going to come to the net. This is where we need to talk about maximizing potential and maximizing tactics, maximizing technique, just as we maximize our fitness and maximize our mental toughness. So all those working together creates a full, comprehensive player. And that way, even though you're different, your difference will then shine through where it needs to. And that's how our differences should be used to our advantage. And number 9 on why technique has been so misunderstood is there's too many opinions and too little solid info to back it up. Okay? So there are a lot of brilliant minds out there, a lot of brilliant coaches, but sometimes they're misled into the wrong direction and they use their brilliant mind in building the wrong engine, so to speak. And number 10, be willing to learn and change. A lot of times we have said technique doesn't work or change, as we said in point number 8, doesn't work for me because of a simple fact that the player was not willing to change or willing to step out of that comfort zone. So being willing to change, we have seen some players at the top of the game, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, really changing their games, improving their technique because they knew that those were the things that were holding them back. So if you're serious about maxing out your potential, being open to change is the way forward. Not just fitness and playing matches and playing tournaments and hoping for something different. Technique is where most of us fall short.